and having an amazing day. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Hannah, and I will be your Master of Ceremony for today's amazing event. Before we start, I would like to kindly remind our honorable participant today to fill in the attendance form that is going to be sent at the chat box. Another reminder, if the participants insist on having or receiving a certificate, therefore do not forget to fill in the feedback form at the end of the session. For those who see that their friends or colleagues are unable to join the Zoom meeting, please refer them to join our live stream at ITS.io YouTube. The comedy would also help in sharing in the live stream link to everyone that would like to watch at the YouTube instead. Now, since today will be a very long day, let me remind everyone regarding our program overview. Firstly, we are going to hear an opening remarks from Relo, U.S. Embassy, Jakarta. It will be then continue with the general lecture regarding the importance of academic writing in higher education. After hearing a comprehensive material, we are going to enjoy a semi-talk show with writing centers from Hiroshima University, University of Indonesia, and also Institute Technology of 10 November. Our session will be held then, since we're going to have a break for 2 hours. After the break, don't forget that we will still have our workshop event. Now, ladies and gentlemen, since we are already reminded regarding the big overview of our rundown, let us start our event with the opening remarks from the Regional English Language Office, the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta. For those who are still unfamiliar with Relo, Relo is one of Indonesia's strategic partnership that focus on building capacity through English teaching and learning in Indonesia. Therefore, Relo plays a very important role in the development of Indonesia's English competency. Now, without further ado, allow me to invite our incredible speaker, Dr. Bradley Horn, as the Director of Regional English Language Office, U.S. Embassy in Indonesia. Hello, Dr. Brad.
Good morning. Wow, that was a very kind introduction. Incredible.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
It's early in the morning for me to live up to incredible as an adjective, so I hope I don't disappoint. But it is a pleasure for me to be speaking with you this morning, and I am very grateful for the invitation from ITS to provide opening remarks for this conference. I will try to keep my remarks brief, and if I do go on, please feel free to give me a sign to wrap it up. But I know everybody, it's early in the morning, so I want to thank everyone for joining us. And hopefully, like me, you are you've had your breakfast and you're having your coffee, and everybody is energized to be part of the conference. So to begin, on behalf of the U.S. Embassy, I want to congratulate ITS on the first anniversary of the Academic Writing Center. By extension, I also want to congratulate the 3 sister writing centers at Universitas Indonesia, at Universitas Negeri Malang, and at UNER in Surabaya. Basically, a little over a year ago, the U.S. Embassy selected these 4 universities to receive seed funding to establish academic writing centers. These 4 universities were selected after an open competition where the embassy published a call for proposals. We received dozens and dozens, literally, and a panel of my colleagues in the embassy reviewed all of those proposals, and we selected the top 4, or the panel selected the top 4 proposals for funding. Strangely, we have 1 here in Jakarta, but 3 in Eastern Java. And I really don't know what that says, but obviously only good things about Eastern Java and what's going on in the area around Surabaya and Malang with regards to education and, of course, to writing pedagogy. I also think it might be something in either in the water out there or the food, because I know I love when we're in Eastern Java, in Surabaya and Malang, particularly to enjoy local food. So something's helping you with the quality of your grant proposals at the very least. Anyway, I digress, sorry. all four of our writing centers, the one at ITS and the three sister writing centers, have done really a great deal. They've achieved a great deal in the past year, especially when we consider the fact that they all started their writing centers and started their operations during the global pandemic. Under these circumstances, getting off to such a solid start as they have really is commendable. And I would say it's a major accomplishment. It's a testament not only to the demand for the writing support that the centers are serving, but also the professionalism of the teams that they've assembled. The centers really have done an outstanding job hiring and training their tutoring staff, developing the services that they offer, and promoting those services to their host universities. So really, it's been only a year, and they've achieved all of this already in the year. And I view that as a success. But they've gone beyond this. They've also begun sharing the lessons that they've learned in the past year through conferences like the one we're joining today, as well as other in-person and online forums, including right now an ongoing virtual workshop series that is being hosted by America, the embassy's cultural center here in Jakarta, that many of our academic writing center staff and affiliate instructors and professors have joined in. So I want to give kudos for already so soon, within 1 year, sharing the best practices, the knowledge, the experiences. Looking forward to the coming year, we expect to see the writing centers transition to more face-to-face consultations and training. As pandemic conditions continue to improve in Indonesia, as universities start more and more in-person instruction, we expect that the writing centers will start physically receiving clients for consultations. But at the same time, I'm sure all of the centers will continue offering their services online. And this is interesting to me because it's almost the reverse of how writing centers in other countries have traditionally been established, how they've started out through in-person consultations and training and moved to virtual. So in a way, the pandemic really forced our four centers, our four Indonesian writing centers, to start off at the cutting edge of technology and then move back to more traditional bricks and mortar setting. So in a way, the pandemic, as difficult as it was to start our operations, really forced us to take a big leap forward to be where other writing centers around the world have taken decades to reach. So again, kudos to our partners at ITS and elsewhere for their successes there. I expect that in the near term, if not already, all four AWCs will become rooted as what we call mission critical units within their respective units, their universities. What I mean by mission critical is your universities are the administrators, but also the instructors, the professors, and the students will come to see the writing centers as an indispensable part of the university, offering mandatory, if you will, or truly necessary services. And so when they become rooted that way, I think we will see continued support for their growth and development by the university. As the AWCs continue to share their successes and insights, we also hope that other Indonesian universities will take up the academic writing center model in their own institutions. And we know from the Regional English Language Office at the embassy, as well as through our partners at the four universities, we've already received multiple expressions of interest from other universities for guidance on how to set up writing centers. And I know that ITS has already started consulting with some other universities, especially in Eastern Indonesia, on how they might offer similar services to what the Academic Writing Center at ITS is doing. So you are a shining light at ITS and the 3 other universities. You are a shining light to other Indonesian higher education institutions. And we are hopeful that there will be support from those universities' administrations to copy the model, because we really do need to expand to support writers at other universities. More broadly, I believe that we have succeeded, and I'm sorry, you're going to have to excuse me because I'm now saying we rather than you, because I really do see this as a partnership. What we've done over what has been done over the past year, let's switch to the passive. What has been done over the past year has been done as the result of a partnership between the US Embassy and the 4 universities. So if you'll allow me to use we, I'll continue to do so, because I really do feel that we were working closely together, tightly together. And so it's easier because I really feel that we are a team. So I'm going to continue using we, but Ibu Maria or others, if you want me to just say you, you did all the hard work. That is true. Anyway, again, I'm digressing. Let me get back to my remarks. More broadly, I really do believe that we have succeeded in elevating the discourse about academic writing and writing pedagogy in Indonesia. And that's critical, because I think our discourse about writing pedagogy has to move beyond simply talking about tips and tricks. And quite frankly, that phrase tips and tricks for me has become something of a curse word or a swear word when I hear it. Because a lot of the training, and I apologize if any of the speakers after me are going to talk about tips and tricks, but a lot of the training that happened before we established these centers was focusing on tips and tricks for publication, tips and tricks for editing, tips and tricks for X, Y, and Z. As if you could simply flick a switch or learn a very basic, quick strategy to make everything, to solve all your problems. We really have we've moved the discussion, and we are moving the discussion beyond that. And we're helping students and educators and educational officials recognize that the development of academic writing proficiency and the development of critical thinking skills go hand in hand. And we're helping them realize that there are no shortcuts for this, that developing either skill or both skills, academic writing and critical thinking, cannot happen overnight. It has to be a sustained part of our entire educational career as humans. So tips and tricks, overnight shortcuts don't work, but a sustained dialogue, a sustained effort is what's necessary. That's why, looking a bit further down the road into the future, I think we need to consider how we expand that dialogue on writing pedagogy even further. Here, I'm thinking about the need for this dialogue to be taking place not just in more universities, but among educators at all levels of education. I think we can probably agree that many, if not most, Indonesian students arrive at university underprepared for the academic writing demands that they will face as university students at the S1, S2, and S3 levels, at all levels of university. We obviously cannot and should not fault secondary teachers for this, or the students themselves, because it is really much more a question of a misalignment between the curriculum at the secondary level and the tertiary level. Writing, I think, is not emphasized enough. And when I'm talking about writing here, I'm talking about writing in English, but also in Bahasa Indonesia. So I think writing is not emphasized enough, and extended writing tasks are not used frequently enough in secondary schools to prepare students to be successful when they reach university and are required to start writing in their university classes. And if, when they get to the university, the only time that they are asked to do extended writing tasks is at the end as a graduation requirement, then that is obviously a problem too, because we're failing as educators, we're failing to prepare them throughout their educational career as students, secondary and tertiary level. We need to expand the dialogue to include secondary educators. We need to include them in training alongside university instructors. We need secondary educators to be present in discussions like this, but in discussions also about how curriculum can be reformed at both the secondary and the tertiary levels to better align learning objectives from the entire lifespan of a student or across the entire lifespan of a student. In this way, we can help, working together, we can help close the gap and mend the disconnect that exists between what students are learning in secondary schools and what they really need to be learning to succeed in university and beyond. We need to make what we call vertical planning. So vertical planning like this, where we're thinking about the whole lifespan of the student. We need to make vertical planning like this part of the curriculum development process. And we need to have educational practitioners be part of that process, not just so-called education experts and policymakers. We need insights from people who are actually doing the hard work of teaching. So to achieve these objectives, I think that, quite frankly, in the future, the academic writing centers will need to take on a role of advocacy. And that will be something new for all of them. But quite frankly, based on what they've achieved in the first year, I think the AWCs are well positioned and their teams are really, they are the experts who can help play this role, who can help inform through their experiences, through the research that they will conduct, and then through the learned opinions that they will have. They will be the ones who will be able to advocate for aligning learning objectives and incorporating writing and critical thinking together in the secondary and tertiary curricula. I said I was going to try to keep my remarks brief. So these are some random thoughts on the morning, some goals, some objectives to look forward to. Sadly, I will be leaving Indonesia in a couple of months. My assignment. But to wrap up, I do want to say that it has been not just a pleasure collaborating with our partners at ITS and at the other universities, but it's also been an honor because when I arrived in Indonesia in 2018, many of the discussions we had focused on these challenges, these shortcomings, and we have worked together to introduce a possible solution. And our partners, not me, not my team here in the embassy, but really our partners, have taken that seed that we planted and they've run with it. And it is truly an honor to have been a part of that and to be able to light the spark that I know that you, as Indonesian educators, will carry forward to light the way to better education for Indonesian students. So again, thank you all for joining us this morning. Thank you to the team at ITS for organizing this conference. And I wish the speakers who follow me the best of luck and success. And of course, wish the best of success to all of our friends at the writing centers. And I will come back in the future. I know all roads lead back to Indonesia. So I look forward to coming back in a few years and hearing more about your successes. So thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much to Dr. Bradley Horn for the amazing and wonderful opening remarks. It is also truly an honor to have a great partnership together with everyone that is in Relo. It was very also great to be reminded about how our academic writing center were created, how we get where we are right now. It's truly amazing, and what are our hopes in the future. And it's also very nice how Dr. Bradley Horn were able to give us so many motivations to learn more and greater for the better future. Hope all of the participants were also able to grasp all of the insightful information and are more motivated to work the very best at our workshop in the end. Now, before we continue on to Dr. Bradley Horn, as a sign of our big appreciation, we would like to present to you a certificate of appreciation. Thank you to Dr. Bradley Horn for your time and lovely opening remarks. Let us first take a picture with the certificate, and then let's have another group photo to memorize this wonderful day. I would help with the counting, and please the committee help with taking the screenshot. To Dr. Horn, please show me your biggest smile in 3, 2, 1. Cheese. All right. Thank you very much to Dr. Horn. Yes, let's now take a group photo, Doctor. Now, everyone, please turn on your camera if you may, and please prepare your greatest pose. To everyone here, let's take a picture in 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Okay, great. Thank you very much, everyone. And once again, thank you very much to Dr. Bradley Horn for today. All right, everyone, let us now continue with our next agenda, which is the guest lecture regarding the importance of academic writing in higher education. This material will be brought by a wonderful speaker from University of Wisconsin-Madison, which is Dr. Dorothy Main, a teaching faculty at Writing Center, University of Wisconsin-Madison in the United States. Hello, Dr. Dorothy Main, are you here with us today?
Yes, I am.
Hello, doctor. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very great also. It's so nice to know that you're very well in this throughout after the pandemic days. Yeah. Now, I'm sure that all of the participants here are already cannot wait to listen to the amazing lecture. Therefore, I would like to invite Ms. Phi to moderate our lecture session today. To Ms. Phi, are you also here with us, Matt?
Yes, thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you, Ms.
I'll take over your virtual microphone.
All right, please, take away.
Very fruitful discussions and lectures with Dr. Dorothy. So everyone in this Zoom meeting, this is very great experience for us to better know about the academic writing centers. And then we here having a very great speaker from the United States of America. We have Dr. Dorothy Main from UW Medicine's Writing Centers, and then Dr. Dorothy will inform and sharing with us about the importance of academic writing, particularly for higher education. So I believe Hannah already mentions a bit about her profile, and I don't want to take a longer time to having introductions. I will give the virtual microphone to Dr. Dorothy to proceed with the informations.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hannah and Ms. Phi and Dr. Brad Horn for bringing us in today. I'm happy to say I will not be talking about tips and tricks because I definitely agree with the idea that these are big holistic things that take a lot of time and can't just happen by implementing one quick tip. So let's get going. So I'm going to give you an outline of our talk to get us started. So we're going to start with a write-in. That's something we really love here at UW-Madison, is starting off our events with a write-in. Writing a lot all the time is a really big help in building our confidence. So we're going to start with a short writing activity when we get started here. And then I'll introduce myself a bit more, talk about the UW-Madison Writing Center, including our history, our current programs, our staff, how we promote ourselves and assess ourselves. I'll also share about my research on academic writing, and then talk about some strategies for mitigating writing challenges. Right, let's start with our write-in. So we're going to take 5 minutes. I have a short prompt for you. You can write in any language that you'd like. You can write on paper, you can type on your phone, whatever. You're not going to be asked to share. This is just for us to start thinking. Our prompt is, what are the rules for academic writing in your field? And how did you learn them? So you can write where and however you want in whatever language you'd like. You won't be asked to share, but I'd like you to think about these 2 questions and write your ideas down, and we'll come back together in 5 minutes.
Okay, I also would like to invite participants. If you want to share on the chat box, will that be fine as well, Dr. Dorothy?
Absolutely.
Yes, so for all participants, please feel free to share what is the rules for academic center in your field, and then how did you learn them through the chat box or the paper that you are now preparing, I believe. And then maybe we're gonna ask several participants, if I may assist you with that, Dr. Dorothy. Okay. Sure. Let's see here. I saw several participants already with us. Can I have here Susan Prima Dewi? Are you with us? Hello, Susan.
I'm with you.
Okay. Susan Crosby is also with us, our virtual fellow. But here we have Susan Prima Dewi, our students here. Susan, can you unmute yourself?
How do you do, everyone? Which Susan are you talking to?
Okay, Susan, the students. Sorry, Susan.
Sorry.
We have 2 Susans here. Okay, Susan Prima Dewi, can you also tell us about your experience in the academic writings?
Sorry, I'm a newbie, a new
That's
student.
Fine. Yeah, no problem.
And
yeah.
I not yet to join the AWC. It's the first time.
Okay, so this is your first time, and then you are a new student.
Yeah.
You're not yet having the experience with the writing centers at the university, right?
Not yet.
So,
Not yet.
what do you think? What is the role in writing your manuscript, or maybe your assignments? What do you think the rules on your field?
I think we must sorry, I can talk fluently.
It's okay, no worries, Susan. Maybe you can write down on your paper or on the chat box later, and then sharing with us. No worries.
Okay.
And if I can invite others lectures here, we have several lectures from Indonesian University as well. So can I have Bapak Iwayan Sumarjaya from Udayana University? Are you with us? Okay, Bapak Wayan. Okay, Pak Wayan is not here yet, I believe. And how about Pak Mulyawan? Pak Mulyawan, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, Pak Mulyawan, can you introduce yourself and then where you from, your institutions?
Thank you very much for the time, for the opportunity. I'm from Cirebon. I'm Bene Mulyawan. I'm from the Department of Information System of STEM College, Cirebon.
Okay, thank you, Pak Mulyawan, for having the event with us this morning. Pak Mulyawan,
Yeah.
if you can share with us, what are the rules for academic writing in your field in information system, Pak Mulyawan?
I think there are many rules. Maybe it's not enough time to be shared in this opportunity. So the simple is the rule for academic writing according to the rules of the Ministry of the Education. Maybe for this time I cannot I cannot share in this opportunity.
Okay, so
So many I mean so many rules. Also we have much enough time, and maybe we can share with PowerPoint presentation maybe.
okay.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Pak Mulyawan. I will give back to Dr. Dorothy for continuing the sessions.
Thank you so much. And I see Ivy Ann in the chat mentioned that rules in their academic field include being formal, being cohesive, being based on facts. That's a common one for sure, and being concrete. So it sounds like in that field, you're expected to get to the point, make it make sense, and make it fast. I want to share a little bit about my background. I am from Ohio in the USA. I got my bachelor's degree in teaching English to speakers of other languages and international studies. After my bachelor's degree, I did Peace Corps in Madagascar, where I taught 6th grade English and university level English. Then I went back to the States and got my master's degree in teaching English to speakers of other languages, and then was an English language fellow in Turkey, where I taught teaching methodology, writing, and worked in the writing center. Following that, I got my PhD in global studies of education. And combined, I have a bit over 10 years of experience in writing centers in Ohio, Turkey, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Currently, I am a teaching faculty at UW-Madison Writing Center, that's University of Wisconsin, Madison Writing Center, where I teach one-on-one with students. I do professional development with our instructors. I create programs and events for our students here. And I also do a lot working with faculty to help them understand how they can teach writing across the disciplines. So I want to tell you a little bit about our institutional context here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. We were established in 1848. We have a bit over 2,000 staff, that's faculty and all the other kinds of staff here on campus, and about 50,000 students. About 14% of our students are international. And we are a large state school. We are a research one, publishing the highest amount of research from universities in the United States. And this is our beautiful campus. And just for some country context, we're up here in the north, and this is the University of Wisconsin campus. I'll also tell you a bit about our writing center. We were established in 1969. So we had our 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. This is our building where we live. This is our writing center where all of the magic happens. I don't know about your centers that you have or that you go to, but I've never seen a writing center that has windows. So this is a very typical writing center from my experience. These might look like windows. It's just into another room. We don't have windows. That's fine. We don't need windows. We have writing. So this is our center. I'll share a little bit with you about our statistics. This past semester that just concluded for us, we had over 2,000 appointments with about 1,000 students. 71% of our students were undergraduate students and 23% were graduate students. Most of our writers, 41% came to us with a course paper, but other popular things that they bring to our writing center included personal statements, dissertation chapters, and their cover letters and resume. So that's what we see here in our center. I also want to tell you about our beliefs and programs. So we believe that writing is a process. It's not a product, it's a process. We believe that good writing doesn't just happen. It happens throughout a process. I don't just sit down and type beautiful sentences that are cohesive and use evidence well. It's a process that happens over time. No one starts out as a writing expert. We're all developing this skill forever and ever. We're never finished developing as writers. Expectations for good writing depend on context. It depends on what I'm writing for. If I'm writing a presentation for a group of writing centers, it's going to be very different than if I'm writing a presentation for colleagues in the education field where my degree is in. We also believe that writers benefit from talking about their writing with engaged listeners, and that's what we are all about. So we talk with students, ask them questions, ask them about their ideas, and we are kind of like a neutral, not grading them, not assessing them or evaluating them. We are just talking with them about what their work is. And we also have a lot of beliefs about the importance of writing in higher education. So we believe that a research university is a writing university because writing is a vital way of communicating our knowledge in our field of study. Our research doesn't mean much if we're not sharing it with anyone else. Funding is linked to our ability to communicate well in writing. So maybe I have amazing research ideas and I have a great plan for what I want to do and I'm going to solve big problems in the world. But if I can't communicate that in a grant proposal, I'm not going to get funding for my project. So writing is so connected to our ability to get jobs and get funding for our projects. And we also believe that our research reputation could be enhanced or diminished by the quality of our writing. And even if I have an amazing paper with great methodology and important findings to my field, and I might struggle to get it published if the writing isn't appreciated by the colleagues in my field. On the other hand, if my writing is seen favorably, I'm going to have a great time sharing that research. So it's not necessarily just the research itself, but our ability to share it that can be very important. So we have some programs in our writing center. First, we have in-person appointments. We've gone back to doing in-person this year. We also still have virtual meetings for people who want to meet with us virtually. We also have satellite locations. We have a big campus and we want to meet students where they are. So we have locations all over campus. We also have written feedback, which is an asynchronous type of tutoring where students send us a paper, tell us what they're concerned about, and then we send them feedback. We also have writing mentorships, and that's where students meet with the same instructor every week all semester. And this can be really beneficial for our students who are working on long-term projects or trying to progress over time with a goal that they have. So our writing mentorships are extremely popular. We also have workshops about different parts of writing, whether it's a particular genre, like a cover letter or a personal statement for graduate school, or if it's about a process, like ways to stop procrastinating. We've got workshops about it. We also have writing groups, which is where we meet with the same group of people at the same time every week, and everyone works independently on their projects. And these can be really great for helping us feel like we're a part of a community, even though we're working alone on a computer or in a notebook. So our writing groups allow us to get that sense of community with each other, even when we're working in some cases, in a very lonely way on one piece of writing without talking to others. We also have a writer's handbook, and that's an online resource that explains different things about writing. In fact, we have a page that explains how to use a semicolon, and it is the top 3 number website that's been used from UW-Madison. So it's like the 3rd most popular website in all of the UW-Madison websites. So people really want to know how to use semicolons. We also have a chat feature for quick questions. So these are our current programs. We also have a staff of about 40 graduate student instructors, and we also have 6 full-time career staff that do different things in programming and administration in our center. So we've got a big staff. We also do a lot of work to promote our center. We do marketing newsletters to all of our users. If a student uses our writing center, they have to make an account. Once they make an account, we have their email address and we can send them marketing emails. So that's where we get a lot of our promotion done. We also send a lot of newsletters and opportunities to specific departments. We have a great website. We have a lot of social media posts. We use a lot of visuals in our materials. We go to classes and we talk about the writing center. It's like a 5-minute at the top of a first-year course, sharing everything about the writing center with a captive audience. It's a great way that we promote ourselves. We also assess our center constantly. So every semester we send surveys to all of our students for a 3-week period where we ask them 20 questions about their experience, and we use the data from this to help refine our programs. And we, of course, measure our usage statistics to make programming choices. So we have an example here of our satellite location usage to figure out where should we be putting more instructors, where should we be taking instructors away. So all very important parts of how we make decisions in the center. We also have ongoing research in our center. Someone is doing a study right now of student perceptions and goals for that written feedback, that asynchronous feedback. Like, what do they want? Do they like what we send them? We want to know. So we're doing research. We're also doing focus groups with second language writers to see how we can better support them in our center. So more about the importance of writing in higher education. Of course, we have to earn those grades, and we need to write in many cases to earn those grades. We also need to write to demonstrate our membership in our field. We also need to write to apply for things, get money, get jobs, advance on in our education. Just super important for us to be able to write these things. It's also important to share our work, whether it's with our instructors or at conferences, and articles to be published, or books and everything else. So, how do we get good at academic writing? It's so important. We're being measured in so many ways. There are so many rules, but how do we figure it out and get good at it? And that's exactly what my research is about, is how do students get good at academic writing, and how can we help them with that? So I will share a bit about my research. The research questions that I investigate are, my population is really specific. So I'm looking at female international students from the Arab Gulf. and their experiences of learning how to write in their academic fields. Ultimately, my question is, how can we better support them as the university, as the writing center, as instructors, as policymakers in the institution? How can we support these students learn to write research in their academic fields? In the context where I do this research, it's a Research One state university in the Midwest USA and of the USA with a large international student population, and it's known for its STEM fields. So a lot of my participants are STEM writers, science, technology, engineering, and math. So that is the context. By the way, it's not UW-Madison. It's not my current institution where my research is based. So it is a different place. So the methods that I have used for this research are doing regular interviews, weekly, bi-weekly interviews with participants. For all of the 2018 to 2019 academic year, I observed them. Some of them were teaching assistants, so I watched them teach or watched them in their labs where they worked. I also interviewed their advisors and their instructors, and analyzed their writing over the year. So their assignments or their dissertation chapters. So those were the methods that I used to investigate these questions. My findings were that everyone is totally different. So how did these people learn how to write their research in their fields? Everyone's process was different. But there were some variables that affected these processes. Those included relationship with peers in their program. And I list that first here because it was the most important. For many students, that was where they were getting the most information. If they had positive relationships, they were working with peers in their departments and their programs, they were learning to write from them. The students who were a year or two ahead of them were their number one source of information. But if they didn't have these relationships with peers in their program, then they didn't learn from that. Other people learn from relationship with advisors and professors. And I think in general, we conceive of learning in the university as there's a faculty member and they're teaching us. When in reality, it's much more like there's a faculty member, they are teaching many students, and those many students are learning from each other. So it's not a line from faculty to student. It's many lines from faculty to many students and students to students to students. Like we learn from each other as students. Other factors that affected students' process of learning academic writing was health, whether they were struggling with mental health or with a diagnosis. That was a big factor for several of my participants. Another factor was reasons and motivation for studying. Some of my participants didn't care about their academic work, and they were in the United States to have a good time. And they were they saw it as a vacation. That hugely impacted the way they learned or did not learn academic writing. Other people had goals to be faculty members, and that motivation and goal definitely also affected their process. The funding source that they had was an important factor. If they were a graduate assistant on campus with a job in their department, they were building more relationships. And like I said already, those relationships with peers were the number one way that people learned. So people who were working on campus were learning a lot more from each other. How busy or bored they were was a big factor in how they learned academic writing. Their future career plans, their marital and parental status. Some of my participants were parents and they did not have time to write all day. And that was a big factor in their process of learning how to write. And finally, English language proficiency was a factor for some participants. And I include that last here because it was not the most important factor for anyone. All of these other factors were a lot more important for people, but there were lots of other factors too. So I have some implications for supporting students with writing based on this research. the more we can understand a writer's circumstance, the more we can support them. If I know their future goals in their career, if I know their health situation, if I know how busy or bored they are, this is all going to impact the way that I work with them. We can't make assumptions about a writer's circumstance. So I can't know about them without asking questions. And I want to help students understand what they need to figure out and where they can figure it out. Like as a writing center practitioner, I am not an expert in all of these fields, but I can help students figure out what they need to know and where they need to go to find out. So that is a big thing that I believe we can do to support students in this process. So ultimately, a research university is a writing university. It's so ingrained. The writing is so ingrained in everything we do at a research university. But we want to think about how we can help our students be better writers and how we can help ourselves be better writers. So let's talk about some concrete strategies for mitigating the challenges that we all experience. This is a big one that I love so much. Reading for style. So let's first define style. Style includes organization, like are you doing introduction, literature review, methodology, findings, like what is your overall organization of your paper? The length of the parts. Are you doing a 5-page introduction and then a 20-page literature review, or a 1-paragraph introduction and a 3-page literature review? So the length of these parts is a part of your style. Vocabulary, what words are you using? The length and the types of sentences. Are you writing in short sentences, long sentences, a combination? Your use of citations. How many do you have? How often do you cite? Who are you citing? Your use of tables, graphs, and other data visuals. How many, how often, and what are you showing in these visuals? So when we're reading for style, we're going to look for what's consistent with these things, and then we're going to do that. So some insights from my research on reading for style. I had some participants whose English level was extremely high. They had very high TOEFL scores or very high IELTS scores, and at the university, they did not have to take any writing courses. So their level allowed them to not have to take any writing courses. However, the students who had lower TOEFL or IELTS scores, they were required to take an academic writing course, a general course. And in that course, they teach you reading for style. The whole course is sitting down together as a group and being taught how to read for style. So students for the whole semester, they're looking at manuscripts, publications, papers in their field, and they're doing these things. They're looking at what parts there are, looking at how long the parts are, looking at types of sentences. And the participants in my research who had to take these classes did not have issues with these things. So their English proficiency was not as high as the others, but they were not concerned about these things because they were taught to do it. On the other hand, the people who had very high English levels were struggling with this type of stuff because they had no instruction on expectations for their field. So in this case, having the very high English level made them not have to take the course where all of this stuff is taught, which I think is interesting because those courses don't teach English language. I think every single student could benefit from this course where they teach you how to read for style. So my participants who had very high English levels really struggled with this, but the ones who had to take this course did not. So the process of reading for style, we're understanding when we read that we do many things. We're understanding content. I want to know what this scholar is saying. We consider how we can use the content in our own work. I'm going to cite it somewhere. And we're also analyzing the style. We're doing all these things at once. I want to show you an example of what this might look like. So maybe I'm writing a manuscript for publication, and I don't know what to put in my introduction. I don't know what the expectation is of the introduction. So I'm going to get that journal and I'm going to analyze 5 articles and look at their intros. If something's consistent, I'm going to do that. And if something varies, I get to choose. So my example is from the Comparative Education Review, which is one of the top journals in my field. I looked at the latest issue from November 2021, and here's what I found. I analyzed article introductions. The first one, the introduction, had 3 paragraphs, big picture problem, followed by a literature review and an outline. The next one had 4 paragraphs. It started with a big picture problem, it had a lit review, and then research questions, and then contributions to the field. The third one had 3 paragraphs. It started with big picture, then gaps in the research, then research questions. Article 4 had 5 paragraphs in the introduction. They started with big picture problem, big picture methods, then specific methods, then a summary of the findings, and then contributions to the field. The 5th article had 3 paragraphs in the introduction, a big picture problem, a summary of the findings, and an outline of the article. So by doing this analysis, I understand that I need to have a 3 to 5 paragraph introduction. I need to start with the big picture problem. Everybody started with a paragraph explaining what the problem is. And then after that, I can pick all of from this menu of options. If I want to do an outline of my article, if I want to talk about a summary of my findings, I'm just going to choose which one of these things would best set up my paper. So this is what reading for style looks like. Another thing that I want to do when I'm mitigating my writing challenge is understanding that opinions about writing are subjective. This is a tough one. So let's dig in. So some examples of some subjective opinions about writing. Good academic writers use long sentences. Short sentences make your writing sound less academic and too simple. So that's someone's opinion. Good academic writers don't use long sentences. Instead, they should break up long sentences into smaller ones so they're easier to understand. And if I'm a student, I might go to a class in the morning and hear the first one, and then go to a class in the afternoon and hear the second one. Well, and that's very confusing. I might also hear someone say, don't use passive voice, and tell me I shouldn't say the survey was distributed in spring 2022. And then someone else gives me feedback that says I shouldn't use I or we. And then they tell me I can't say we distributed the survey in spring 2022. These are 2 different opinions about academic writing style. I might have an instructor who tells me that my conclusion should always offer a new perspective on my topic. And then another instructor might tell me, hey, why did you add a new perspective in your conclusion? Your conclusion should only say what you've already said. So this can be very confusing because we're told conflicting things from different people. But none of these things are right or wrong. They just depend on your audience, among many other things. So someone might tell me I can't use passive voice, and then someone else tells me I should use passive voice. What I understand from that is their fields have different opinions and different styles. So I need to understand what about writing is subjective so I can make the choices that work for my audience. So for instructors, there's lots of things we can do to help our students understanding what's subjective about writing. So it starts with understanding that our students are told conflicting things about writing. And when we tell them our opinion, it's helpful if we make it clear that it's an opinion. And if we tell them the reasons behind our opinion, like if I think you shouldn't add new information in your conclusion, I should tell you why I think that. And then explain how audience might be a factor in these things. And if you're a student, it's very frustrating that your instructors are giving you opposite feedback or they're teaching you opposite things. So you want to understand the reasons behind why they have these different opinions, and be flexible and understand that people do have different opinions. And also understand that your instructors are humans. Humans have opinions about everything, including academic writing. I have a lot of opinions about writing myself, and sometimes I impose them on my students because I'm a human person, and that's what human people do. So be patient with this issue. I want to share some success stories. I know we talk a lot about challenges in writing and talk about how hard it is. So I want to share some success stories of students I've been working with this year. I'll tell you about Amelia, Noor, Amir, and Mary, and how they found their success this year. So Amelia is a PhD student in environmental conservation from Honduras. Her issues this year included that she didn't have confidence with English language. She didn't feel like people can understand her writing or her speech. And she dislikes academic writing style. Like, she feels very strange when she writes in this formal way, and it's very uncomfortable for her. So working with her, we did some interventions. We did a lot of that deep analysis, that reading for style of those target journals, and to look at what kind of formal language do they have? Does everyone have that formal language that she doesn't like? And then working with her where she got to the process of writing drafts in the form of language, the casual form of language that she prefers, and then made it more formal over time with revision. So it wasn't like she started writing first drafts in that very formal academic language. It was something that came through revision. And success, she's had a lot of it. She's published 4 articles in the last year. In her department, you have to publish 4 articles to be eligible to defend your dissertation. So now she's on her way out the door after this year. We also have Noor, who's a 4th year undergraduate student in human development and family studies from Indonesia. The issues that we worked on this year were English proficiency, just general understanding of conventions of grammar, vocabulary, and these things. And another issue she had was that she wasn't getting feedback from instructors on her writing. She would just get a paper back with a grade that said C or 50%. And she didn't know what she needed to do to improve. So some interventions that we worked on is to increase that English proficiency by practicing listening and speaking. So it's not, we can improve our English language beyond just reading and writing. We can take it in all of its forms and improve our language. We also worked a lot on asking for feedback from instructors. So she felt nervous to write that email saying, "Hi, I got a C on my paper. I'm just wondering what you think I could do to improve." So we worked a lot on asking for feedback in an appropriate way, in the way that was as formal as it needed to be. And then she did get, she didn't get feedback from everyone. That's understandable, but she did get some useful feedback from some people after she specifically asked. And her success is that this semester she increased her GPA in her final semester and is graduating with a higher GPA than she thought possible last year. Another success story is Amir, a 2nd year PhD student in economics from Iran. This was another student who had issues with English proficiency, just feeling inconfident about following the rules of grammar, and also difficulty understanding the flexibility of academic writing. So you might notice that if you're reading a book published in your subfield, the writing can be very different from an article published in your general field. And he was struggling with understanding how you can change between these different types of writing and the different expectations depending on who the audience was, if it's your subfield or the general field. And the interventions that we worked on were, again, that deep analysis of target journal articles and lots of revision. Like Dr. Brad Horan said at the top, we don't have tips and tricks. It's a long process of revision. We're drafting, we're looking at articles, we're analyzing what they have, we're going back to our writing, talking with someone about it, bringing it to a writing center, talking to someone in our field about it, revising it again. It's this long process, many rounds of revision. And doing all of that, he's published his first article this month. I also worked with Mary, who's a junior faculty in education. Her issues were that she was really discouraged after getting several grant rejections. And she blamed her writing. She told me, I can't get these grants. I have to get these grants to get tenure and keep my job. And I can't get the grants because my writing isn't good enough. So we looked at her writing together, and I really felt that her writing was very, very good. And a lot of what we talked about to help her change her perspective is that she's applying to super competitive grant programs. It's not always a case that like we get rejected because our writing isn't good enough. Sometimes we get rejected because only 1% of people get accepted. And maybe if we change a word here or there, or we add a new topic sentence, it won't make a difference. It's just super competitive. So we don't want to get stuck thinking that writing is our only issue and blaming our writing. That's not always helpful. So we did a lot of work with more deep analysis of those example proposals. She noticed there that her methodology was very different from everyone's. So maybe she wasn't being rejected because of the writing. Maybe she was being rejected because they didn't like her methodology. So this year she didn't receive that grant because only 1% of people do, but she was a finalist this year, which was better than last year. So progress is made. So these are some success stories. It's a process. It takes a lot of time and work, but we get it done over time. I really want to emphasize that we can't ignore the factors beyond English skills, writing skills, and English language proficiency. These are absolutely factors, but we can't consider these the only factors. So let's think about some components of academic writing. Are we engaged with the relevant scholarship in our field or in the topic? Are we following the organization conventions of our field? Do we meet the criteria for purpose of writing, whether it's a course assignment, a grant proposal, or a manuscript? Are we meeting that criteria that our audience is looking for? Is it written to that specific audience who will be reading it? Sometimes this is a big issue, like if for a journal, if I'm writing my article about how participants in my research have developed their academic writing skills, if I'm writing that for the Journal of Writing Centers, or if I'm writing that for the Journal of International Students, those are two different audiences, and I'm going to write that article differently. And finally, does it have correct use of conventions of English, grammar, vocabulary, and punctuation? It's absolutely a factor. I want to emphasize, though, that there are many others. But I do know that the most common question I get asked from students when we talk about these things, okay, but still, I want to know, how can I improve my grammar and vocabulary? Understandably, this is the most common question I get. So I do want to address it. Research shows, what can we do to improve our grammar and vocabulary? Research shows it's complicated. There's lots of contradictory research. So some researchers have found that independent study of grammar rules, like you got that book and you're doing worksheets in the book, a lot of research shows that's useless and doesn't make a difference in your ability to write that sentence correctly in 2 months. Some say the best way to learn is from examining the errors we make in our own writing. So we get our draft back from someone and we go through it and find every error, figure out why we made that error, understand that rule. And some say that's a great way to learn grammar. But others found that 2 months after we do that, everything we learned is gone. Some have found that independent study can work. like that, studying that grammar book by yourself in your room. But the effect can go away after time. So I say, if you want to improve your grammar and vocabulary, you should do what you like. If you like sitting in your room alone with a grammar book, you should do that. If you don't like sitting alone in your room with a grammar book, I don't think you should do that. Think about it like practicing music. So I have my metaphor for us here on improving grammar and vocabulary like music. I can listen to music. It won't make me a better player. Maybe it will. Maybe I'll understand more about the way that music sounds good, have new ideas for what I can do when I play my instrument, but I have to actually practice that instrument. I got to get my fingers moving. I have to play the song poorly many times. And that's how I get better at playing that instrument. I don't pick the instrument up and play a song perfectly. And the same is true for writing and our grammar and our vocabulary. So I'm going to practice writing. Sure, I can watch TV and movies. I can listen to podcasts. I can talk to my friends in English. We can have English hour where we're only using English. All of that is fantastic. But I also need to write. So this is not a tip and trick. It's a long-term thing. We can't improve unless we actually do it. So write as much as you can. Write what you like. Maybe write every day 5 sentences about what you did today, or anything that interests you. But you want to do a thing that you like. So if you don't want to sit there with that grammar book, then don't. If you want to analyze the grammar in your favorite TV show, pause it every time they say something that doesn't quite make sense to you and analyze the grammar of that sentence. If you want to do that, do that. So do the thing that you find fun and interesting. Research shows that being novice in a particular genre or discourse community is the most important factor in academic writing. Not your English proficiency, not your conjugating verbs, but if you are writing a literature review for the first time, that will be difficult. Every time you write a literature review after that, it gets easier and easier and easier. If you are new in your major, like let's say for 2 years you were studying electrical engineering, and then you just change your mind and you want to do chemistry. When you switch to chemistry, you're going to be a novice in that discourse community, and you will have to relearn things. So being a novice is the most important factor in our academic writing. So the more experience you gain in academic writing, the better your writing will become. If you wait to write a manuscript for publication until the very end of your university experience, and you don't have all of those building blocks on the way, it's going to be very rough. But if you're writing and you're building over time, you're writing all kinds of different things, then you are not going to be a novice anymore. So we want to build those blocks over time. And to summarize, we're going to mitigate our writing challenges through a couple of ways. We're going to talk to people about our ideas, talk about your writing process, talk about your research ideas. This is where writing centers come in. You want to go to that writing center, there's someone there who's paid money to talk to you about your ideas, and ask you questions, talk to you about your process, help you along the way. So talking to people is so key in improving your writing. You also want to consider those issues beyond language. Maybe you need to change, you're not getting your article published because they don't like your methodology. Maybe you don't have the type of organization that they would expect in the paper. So they didn't read it carefully to see that your research is brilliant. So they rejected your paper. You want to consider all of those different factors. Analyze samples of whatever you're writing. Do that reading for style. Look for consistencies and do those things. Understand that your confidence in writing can open doors for you, and do what you need to do to build that confidence. And for many of us, that means writing every day, even just a little, writing a lot, writing a little, just trying to write. Understand that what people like and dislike about academic language can be subjective, so don't get frustrated if you hear conflicting things. Instead, think about the audience and who you need to be writing for. So I have some of my works referenced here. These are some of the scholarly papers that I was referring to. And now we'll open it up to questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Dorothy, for your presentations. So everyone, can I invite you to give a round of applause a moment to Dr. Dorothy for the presentations. I think it is really good insight for us to know particularly about the writing centers in University of Wisconsin-Madison. I know the satellite locations a lot, like you have every corner in the university, I guess, and also learning from Dr. Dorothy's research and as well about the success story from your student. It is truly new insight for us to learn at our centers here. So, dear all participants, I would like to invite you if you have any questions or anything that you want to ask for Dr. Dorothy, you may use the raise hand features, or if you want to put down your questions on the chat box, that's also fine. So I'll give a moment for participants here to raising her hands or his hands and then put down on the chat box. But I have one question for Dr. Dorothy here. It is very interesting to know from your success story of your students and how your centers giving the interventions for the students. Can you inform us, do you have any particular strategy in which in this, for example, these problems, you have these particular interventions for a group of students, or do you have it for customized for each individual at the university? How is the strategy for the interventions you give for the clients?
Yeah, great question. I think for me, I always want to consider the value of the writing center is that individualized instruction. There's no other circumstance where I have been able to teach someone one-on-one. It's so helpful. And so I think what we do in the writing center is deeply ingrained in individualization. So I'm going to talk with the student, ask them what they're already doing, ask them what's troubling them. I'm not going to make any assumptions about what their problems are or what they're doing. So we really need to talk it out. And I will create a plan with them. I really want to make sure that I'm asking students to do things they want to do. So I'm never going to tell a student, here's the grammar book you need to get. Before you see me next week, do practice exercises 8 to 12. If they're not a grammar book lover, I don't want to send them away with a task they're going to hate. So I work with them to find something that I think will help them, that they will actually like.
Okay, having the custom and individuals, I believe that's particular and important within the writing centers. Thank you, Dr. Dorothy. And we have two participants here raising hands. I have Sulaiman Dahir Muhammad. Would you mind to unmute and then delivering your questions?
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tharati, for the insightful session. And really, I enjoy it. So nowadays, they are relying on those artificial intelligence, such as Scholarly, Quillbook, and Grammarly. So I think that most of the people are thinking about that everything will be easy for the next years. So are you agree with that, or just it will not take over the role of the academic writing and the people get prepared manually everything. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
thank you for
you.
the question. Yeah, I think that artificial intelligence tools for writing are getting pretty good. I've worked with students where we're looking at their draft and I'm asking, why did you choose this combination of words? And they tell me, oh, the AI did that. And I'm like, what? Wow, okay. I think that these are all tools, Grammarly and the other AI things are super helpful tools. They cannot help us cross the finish line though. They're gonna get us away. They're gonna help us move forward, maybe even enhance our confidence. But I don't think it can replace the human touch. And I think a lot of that has to do with audience. The artificial intelligence does not understand your audience. They don't understand the difference between a journal in your subfield and a journal in a related field. So there's so many factors beyond which combinations of these 4 words is the right one that they cannot help with. But that does not mean I think that students should not use them. I think it's another tool in our toolbox. But we can't think of it as, okay, I used the AI, so I'm good. It's just a step forward.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. And they may experience with the plagiarism. I think the plagiarism can be experienced if we rely on those things. Thank you for your reply.
Thank you, Mr. Sulaiman, for your questions. Yeah, still, if we have that supporting tools, AI supporting our writing, it's good, I believe, but still, retouch is needed still at the end of the process. And here we have also Dr. Maria. I would like to invite you to unmute and delivering the questions.
Thank you so much. I don't want to take much time, but I have to appreciate Dr. John's presentation very much because it is so wonderful learning from your success story and your experiences. Let me ask very basic question. As an institution, could you please suggest us what is the first 3 important milestones in setting up or establishing writing center based on your experience? For example, now we are still struggling in this and that, but looking at your experiences is wonderful. Could you please suggest the first 3 important milestones for us from where we should start in to establish such a wonderful writing center like yours? Thank you so much.
Great. Yes. Thank you for the question. I think step number 1 is considering ourselves as not experts. Like writing center practitioners are not experts, and we need our students to understand that we are not experts. We need our students to understand what we are, which is a supportive, engaged listener who can ask them questions and get them moving in a direction or help them answer questions themselves. But communicating with students our role and the benefits of talking about our writing, I think is a huge first step. I think another step is training an instructor staff to be listeners. I think in some cases, writing center instructors are confident writers ready to instruct, and we may not see the value of listening. So I think there's a lot of training that can be done about what types of questions to ask our students and how important it is to listen to their different answers and not make assumptions about that student's experience or perception. And then we also need to do a lot to promote. So once we have our students understanding we're not experts, we have our non-experts understanding how we need to listen, then we need to make sure that everyone on campus knows about us And that's done through class talks, getting in front of those big lecture halls and taking 5 minutes to tell people what the Writing Center is, how to make an appointment, and all of that. I think that type of audience is so much more effective than a beautiful website, than an email. So getting ourselves in front of students. So those would be my 3 things.
Okay. Will that answering your questions, Ibu Maria?
Thank you so much. So inspiring. Thank you, Dr. Dorothy.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Maria, for the questions. And we still have 1 minute, I believe, and we have one last questions, Dr. Dorothy, from Universitas Udayana here on the chat box. For a learner who struggles on writings, especially on complexity of English grammar, and currently being in sort of intermediate plateau, what is your suggestions on how to solve this problem?
I love this question so much. I think that intermediate plateau it hurts my soul to be on that intermediate plateau. And I think the best way to move out of it is to recognize that it's not real. It feels very real. Once we get to that intermediate level, it feels like we're not making any progress. We are making progress, even if we're not learning new phrases, new words. I mean, we probably are, without knowing it. But even if we're not learning new things, we're becoming more comfortable with what we already know. But it's hard to see that progress. So my advice for someone who's struggling with intermediate plateau is to do some explicit activities to help them see that they are not in that intermediate plateau, or prevent themselves from getting there. That can include keeping a word journal every time you learn a new word, looking back on something you wrote a year ago. The feeling that you're in an intermediate plateau is so understandable, but you're probably not there. You're making progress that you don't see. So do what you can to see it.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Dorothy. This is very important to highlight that we need to do what we like, as you mentioned on your presentations, and also the last remarks for the answers. So again, everyone, and Dr. Dorothy, thank you so much for your lectures this morning in Indonesia. I hope everyone got eye-opening insights and then informations from you and the writing centers. Again, I would like to highlight that writing is a process. So we need to get improved in every milestone and step that we have. Thank you so much, Dr. Dorothy. I believe this is the end of our sessions this morning, and I would like to again invite our MC Hannah to continue the sessions. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, round of applause for Dr. Dorothy and everyone in the Zooms this morning.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much to Dr. Dorothy Bain, and also thank you very much to Ms. Fai for moderating our event. It was a really entertaining and incredible lecture indeed. It has been giving so many insights, especially for me as a student, to know that English could be learned in any type of form, in any type of way. And therefore, I hope by this lecture, everyone here could enjoy more our event today and not feel too strict around when you are later at the workshop. So Dr. Main, as a sign of our big thank you, we would like to present to you a certificate of appreciation. So thank you so much to Dr. Dorothy Main for your time and for your incredible and enormous amount of ideas and insights regarding the academic writing in higher education. Now, let us first take a picture with the certificate, and then again, let's take another group photo to memorize this wonderful time. I would help with the counting. To Dr. May, please show me your warmest smile. In 3, 2, 1, smile. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Main. And let us now continue with the group photo. Everyone, please turn on your camera and please prepare your greatest pose. I'm going to help with the counting, taking a picture in 3, 2, 1, cheese. All right, nice. Thank you very much, everyone. And once again, I would like to say very much thank you to Dr. Dorothy Main for today. Everyone, before we continue, I would like to know how is the participant currently keeping up with the event? Please show me what you are currently feeling using the reaction button that could be accessed at the 3 dots below your Zoom screen. So everyone, maybe you could show me any type of reaction. Oh, I see many hearts. I see many party. I see many thumbs up. Oh, there are more hearts coming up. Oh, it's so nice to see that everyone is enjoying very greatly our morning event, especially seeing that all of these smiles, all of these happy times. I hope you are all ready to continue on to our next event. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now entering our writing center sharing session. Well, we might say it's like a little bit of a semi-talk show later on. But before we start at the discussion, allow me to introduce to you 3 of our amazing guest speakers for today. First of all, we have from the Hiroshima University, Japan. We are accompanied by Dr. Tingjia Wang as the Assistant Professor of Writing Center in Hiroshima University. Continued on from University of Indonesia, we are accompanied by Dr. Harni Kartikaningsi as the Director of Writing Center in University of Indonesia. And lastly, from Institute Technology of 10 November, we are represented by Associate Professor Maria Anityasari as Director of Global Engagement, Institute Technology of 10 November. Once again, like before, I would like to invite Ms. Fai to continue on to moderate a long-awaited Writing Center discussion. Hello, Ms. Fai. Are you ready to continue on to moderate our semi-talk show?
Yes, thank you so much, Hannah, for giving that to me. Yeah, I'm still on my spirit having the previous lecture from Dr. Dorothy, but yeah, I need to speed up again for this session, which is I also interested to know more about the writing centers, particularly from this guest speaker that we have from Hiroshima and then Universitas Indonesia, as well as our center here at ITS. So first of all, I would like to greet Dr. Tingjia, Dr. Harni, and Dr. Maria. How are you this morning?
Good, thank you.
I'm very well. Thank you for the invite.
Yes. Okay. Without further ado, so everyone, again, I would like to invite you to actively engage in these sessions. So these sessions will be delivered in form of talk. So you may ask your question at any time, raise your hand on that, and then put down your questions on the chat box. Please feel free to do so, asking technical or general informations about the centers, and also if you want to, I don't know, tips and tricks that you're asking for from the centers is also fine to be delivered. So before we start, can I invite Dr. Tingjia to have brief information of the Writing Center at Hiroshima University?
Oh, sure. Sorry, am I going to do my slideshow? Because I include that in the slideshow. So can I share my screen? But
yes.
Will that be like, are we going to take shift in this part, or am I going to do my slideshow for 15 minutes?
Yes, no worries, Dr. Tingjia and all of the speakers. You may share screen within your presentations as well. It can be your PowerPoint or websites, that also fine. I will let you know when the time needs to go for the next speakers.
Sure. So I will share screen because the introduction of the Writing Center is also on my slides. Okay, so I will start my 15-minute show. Okay, so everyone can see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so thank you everyone for having me here. My name is Tingjia Wang. I'm from Hiroshima University Writing Center. I'm an assistant professor there. And before I joined Hiroshima University, I have been 3-year teaching and researching experiences in School of Education in 4 different universities in Australia. And the courses I taught and the grant research projects I worked on were in the field of initial teacher education, with a focus on the development of English literacies and multimodal literacies. So I'm a linguistics-informed teacher educator. Okay, so that's how my linguistics and education background communicate with each other and contribute to the Hiroshima University Writing Center. So Hiroshima University Writing Center started in 2013, and we are a university level institute, so we don't belong to any department or schools. We have a range of services in English and Japanese, and we also offer financial support for students proofreading. We also hold seminars with guest speakers from other universities or publishers. The key challenge I would like to discuss today is the limited scale of the internal market for English academic support. You may think that, in a non-English speaking university, the need for English academic support must be very big. Well, not necessarily, because students don't necessarily need to write English essays for their courses or English thesis for graduation. So there's a gap that the university see the value of English academic support and the need. And so the Writing Center has received a lot of encouragement and support from the university level, but students need a reason to be more motivated and proactive and develop their English academic literacies in the university. So today I will share how we respond to this challenge in two of our key services in English stream, our credit courses and our tutor training program. So our credit courses are developed and provided by Writing Center faculties. They are university-wide elective credit courses, just like other department courses. I usually have 5 to 20 students in every class. We offer courses throughout the entire academic year. So far, at the undergraduate level, we have 2 writing courses in a sequence, which means academic writing 2 is more advanced than academic writing 1. Students can take either of them or both. At the postgraduate level, we have a writing course, academic writing for research papers, and a pedagogy course, an education course. So the purpose of these 2 courses is that in the writing course, postgraduates can learn academic writing skills. And then in my teaching course, in my education course, postgraduates can shift their positions to think like a teacher, to use their academic writing skills and knowledge to develop a lesson idea about English writing relevant to their discipline. So in doing so, students will see the needs and have the opportunities to practice their writing skills and experiences in a teaching course to be a teacher. So some key teaching insights I would like to share here. Number 1, I don't give students a writing topic to write just for my course. I ask students to find and bring in a writing idea into my course and develop into an essay step by step. In addition to an essay, students are asked to write a reflective writing as a final submission. So in the reflective writing, I want students to put the thoughts down in written that based on the knowledge and the skills about English academic writing they learned from my course, how they evaluate their own writing skills at this stage. And what are their plans, strategies, and potential resources they can use to further improve their academic writing skills outside of my course. So learning and self-learning are equally emphasized in my course. So students will learn that the skills and the knowledge they learned from the course can be used outside to support their self-development. I always tell students that academic literacies are typically developed at the tertiary education level, and that applied to L1 and L2 context based on my teaching experiences in Australia and in Japan. So L1 and L2 context of English. So L2 learners are never behind in the development of academic literacies, not simply just because they're not native speakers of English. So that relieves students a lot. And students will feel more confident and motivated in learning more in your class. For the assessment, I always make this very clear in my first class that I focus on students' individual progress in their writing, reflected in the in-classroom writing tasks and the final essays. I don't compare students because I always have a mixed class with a different language background, different majors, different levels. I don't use any particular textbooks because they are too general. They don't apply to all disciplines. Instead, I ask students to find their sample journal articles and bring into my class, and they can continue searching their sample journals throughout my courses. I also have my sample journal articles. I model how to recycle these journal articles to learn academic writing skills, like how to enlarge our vocabulary, academic vocabularies from reading journal articles, how to pay attention to the information structure at the sentence level, at the paragraph level, how to focus on these writing aspects in these journal articles that they already need to read for their research, for their disciplines. In doing so, I'm actually modeling how they can self-learn academic writing in the future by reading the journal articles in their fields. I have a 90 minutes class for all these courses. I implemented a 30-minute in-class writing and then 30-minute plenary discussion. Sometimes students need more time to write, so that's okay. They can write outside the class. Then the next class, I always implement a plenary review at the beginning about the last week's writing task. So you need to be flexible. But the point is, draw a line of the teaching within the teaching time. I don't ask students to write something outside of my class. I don't exchange the comments and the revision outside the classroom because students will not and don't want to spend too much time outside of the class about your course. So yeah, just finish all the things within the class. Outside the class, go and live their life. And I actually recommend online teaching. For writing classes, I'm conducting online teaching for all my courses, not just because of COVID-19 or the fact that we have multiple campuses, but also I found that online teaching is very useful and easy for me to structure the plenary review. I ask the students to drop their paragraph when they are done the in-class writing in the chat box. I copy and paste those paragraphs out from the chat box into my teaching slides. So every student will have a teaching slide with their name in the title and their paragraph. And then we do plenary discussion, plenary review, and everyone can see, of course, I'm sharing slides. Everyone can follow and see the review, learn from each other. And then I copy and paste the commented paragraph back to the chat box. Everyone can take back their own paragraph too for the future revision. So this is my recommendation. Think about online teaching that actually make the life so much easier.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Dr. Tinja, before we go through for the next informations from your slides, if I may also invite Dr. Harni here, because Dr. Tinja also share with us about how is the writing centers and then some of the challenges and then how particularly you tackle that challenges in your classes and also the technical strategy that you have at the centers. How about in University of Indonesia, Ibu Harni? Do you have the same thing happen in the center as well, or it's slightly different?
I think what we have here in Universitas Indonesia, we share similarities with the one with our sister at ITS, and of course a bit of different from Dr. Tinja Wang that she has in the Hiroshima University. What we have here, we are actually starting from zero. So it's like a rocket launch here. We have all the preparation and everything, but we really start from scratch. And in a way, what we have here, we have a lot of challenges. Some challenges are similar, some challenges are different, but we try to embrace it and try to incorporate that. But mainly, the challenge that we have, I think I could point out to three main things. First is the online platform. I think what Dr. Bradley Horn has stated previously in the very first plenary speech about the way we establish our centers during the pandemic makes us, inevitably embrace this online platform. So that would be our number one challenge. And the second one would be the curriculum development. So we're dealing with language and content when we're doing language, when we're, sharing our doing consultation, doing language, and when we are going to focus on content, when we are doing both. And the third one, I think it is also important, is that we are introducing a new culture. When I say we are all introducing a new culture, Writing Center is relatively new in Indonesia. What we know, most of us know, Writing Center would be more associated with something to do with, translation services. So sometimes clients come to us, do you have translation services? But this is an educational institution in a sense, like what our previous speaker has stated. This is what we want to empower students and our teaching staff to continue on their journey and their writing. Of course, translation, editing, proofreading services give, a quick fix, something instant, not just tips and trick. I think it's beyond that. It's really fast. You just get things done and dusted in one go. But what we offer in Academic Writing Center is we're trying to give you superpower, if I may, and introduce that you could use this. You have this language power, and we want you to use this because it's long-term and it's better and it's empowering. You have more control on what you want to write, what you want to express. And in a sense, as a researcher myself, if you're equipped with good language skills, you are able to, to get involved in big conversation, theoretically or in praxis, really, in many different kinds of fields. And how we embrace those challenges. I think when we do online platform, we think about doing an action research cycle. So instead of doing trial and error, so we try it, and if it's error, we leave it. No, we try to try it. If there's something wrong, then we try to modify it. So instead of having this revolutionary thinking, we try to evolve it. Maybe we could modify it. We are all new in this, both the clients and us too, as Writing Center. So we have this action research cycle. We try to do things, and if it doesn't work, then we try to modify it, and let's see how it works. If it's successful, then it could inform us for the next thing. Then we also think about doing, developing curriculum. What we do is that we try to build discussion and dialogue with different experts in the field. So Universitas Indonesia, I think a bit different from ITS, in which the focus would be on STEM, so hard sciences and engineering. But what we have in Universitas Indonesia, we have people doing arts and humanities, where the language would be different from those who are writing in science, hard science, engineering, and all other disciplines. And those are all our clients who come to our center, and they want to be empowered and be successful in their field. So what we do, we often try to use articles from their own field. We also encourage our clients to talk more about their field. And when we try to bridge the gap between this language and content, the kind of language used in their field specifically. So I think it's quite productive, especially for consultation, in which it is, synchronous one using Zoom. That's what we have. They will talk more about their field, and we try to use the kind of language resources which are important in their writing. So I think that's what we try to do. And lastly, for introducing new culture, this will be some sort of implication that we try to manage during our promotional value and our marketing tools. Really, most of our clients, before they book appointment with us, they would ask, are we going to pay, or how this service work? And even in almost still this time around, people still ask, is the service for us, or do you have to pay? Do you offer translation services? But that's okay. This is our first year. As I said, it's a new culture. We're trying to open up a new culture for our an academic culture in particular in our university. So we still, striving and thriving to do our promotional marketing to, in a sense that we're here trying to support and help. So that would be a bit different with, the case in University Madison, Wisconsin, in which it's already established, people know. But here, our clients, the students and staff are still in they're learning that there's new culture and they're actually beneficial, and that's what we're striving. So that's a bit, I guess, Ms. Pai. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ibu Harni. If you may also share with us any related social media or PowerPoint, if you have it with you about the centers, Universitas of Indonesia's writing centers.
Yes, I have this PowerPoint prepared, but basically I already wrapped it up. But what you can see here is you could go to awcue.com. You'll see what we offer, our services, and at the moment we are developing our online resources. So this time around, our students are having their midterms. A lot of students also having their thesis defense. So it's not, it's not really a productive time for our center to open consultation. So this is at this time around, we are preparing our online resources. But as you could see, there is some login. That means you need access. And you could also visit our, just going to be a bit, you could also go to our Instagram, AWC_FGB_UE, and you'll see that we are sharing our programs, our activities, and other things really that we put in there. So either our website or our Instagram. Yeah, that would be enough, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ibu Harni, for sharing from Universitas Indonesia. And for the next, I believe we can hear about the centers at Institut Teknologi 10 November. Dr. Maria, if you may share with us about the writing centers as well, that our two speakers mentioned about the challenges and particular strategy or actions that to tackle that challenges.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fai. So first of all, I would like to express my gratefulness to Dr. Ting Chia Wang and also Dr. Harni. Thank you so much for sharing, because I believe among three speakers in the panelists, I'm the weakest, I believe, because I'm not from English background. I'm an engineer. And I know that, like Dr. Harni mentioned, ITS has no language faculty. I mean, like faculty on English or something like that. So we have maybe a bit of different struggle in terms of establishing our academic writing center here. I have a couple of questions already for Dr. Ting Chia Wang and also Dr. Hani later on, but let me very briefly go through the history of our center here to give other attendees and participants of understanding about what's the milestone that we have gone through. So all participants, this is the vision and mission of Academic Writing Center at ITS. First of all, we think that we will provide academic writing skill training and improvement for graduate students. But then we figure out that actually concentrating only for master and doctoral students is not enough. We have to also improve the English writing skill of our lecturer here at ITS, and also even wider than only postgraduate students. We also have to work to improve the writing skill of our undergraduate students, because writing is not something that can be instantly changed, like what explained very clearly by Dr. Dorothy in the previous lecture, and also mentioned by Dr. Brad and also Dr. Hani and also Dr. Ting Chia. So writing is something that needs a lot of hard work, not something that can be changed through 3 or 4 meetings or maybe 2 or 3 months training. So in the future, we need to, in the near future, we need to sit down and reformulate our mission and vision, because we figure out that actually only focusing on publication is not enough. Publication is the outcome. Publication is the impact. But talking about and strengthening the writing skill fundamentally for our student and also lecturer is much more important. And then this is the milestone that we have been going through up to now.
Ibu Maria, I'm sorry, your slide is not going to the next slide yet.
Okay, I'm very sorry for the technical things. I just share again my slide. Can you see my slide now?
Still loading, but
okay, I will continue while go through the step shown in the slide. Can you see my slide now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now we are trying to again learning and reflect what we learned so far and try to establish something that more robust for the second year of the center, and would like to learn from all of you. And then when we talk about need for
Okay, I think we have slightly connections problems with Dr. Maria's internet. I'll go back to Dr. Tinja to inform like several key points that you previously shared with us on your PowerPoint, please.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I will quickly wrap up this first sharing about the credit courses, because I think most of the writing centers I know don't provide this, like department credit courses like courses. So these are the key points that we actually use at the micro level in our courses to let students stay in your class, be motivated and see the point of the academic literacies, and then see the point that the courses will support their self-learning outside of the class. Well, let me change the slide order a little bit. So I would like to jump to my last slide at first to give you a full picture of the Writing Center. So Hiroshima University Writing Center is a bilingual teaching and research institute. On the teaching side, we have the credit courses offered by Japanese and English faculties. And also we have a tutor training program certified by the CRLA certification from the United States. That's actually the second sharing I want to focus on, but I will come back later. And then on the research side, we have successfully secured 2 national largest government grant in Japan. It's called Kakenhi. And we have secured approximately $75,000 US. On the Japanese side, we have a completed grant project on corpus linguistics with a focus on the academic writing in medicine and science field. On English stream, we have an applied linguistic projects focusing on the material development for teaching and self-learning of academic writing in arts and humanities. So this is the full picture and the profile of the Writing Center. Should I continue about the tutor training, or should I give the floor back to other speakers?
Let me see if Dr. Maria is available. So we will give the time to continuing the presentations from ITS Writing Center. Then we can get back to talk about the tutor trainings and the details on that.
Sure.
Dr. Maria?
I'm very sorry.
Yes.
Oh my.
No worries.
It was so smooth until my turn to talk. Sorry, very sorry. Okay, I will continue the situation here at ITS. I hope you can see my slide by now. So previously, like I mentioned, we focus on the publication for lecturer, focus on publication for master and doctoral, and then we extend to lecturer. And then we realized that undergraduate students also need to improve their writing. And also now we have international undergraduate students started from 2019, and now they're approaching the final project time. And we also realized that we need to also help them to improve their writing skill. And then when we talk about challenges, thank you so much for Dr. Hani, who already highlighted the challenges in UI, and I believe it has also shared the same situation. We have various student English proficiency level in one class, and I would like to learn from Dr. Tinja how to deal with that, because we have serious difficulties. Dr. Tinja mentioned not comparing students, but okay, we try to figure out how, because it is also our challenge here. And then for master and doctoral students, some feel they don't have research methodology class. So it's like very hard to say, to distinguish between language problem and content problem. So Dr. Harni mentioned about that language and content, some challenges that we have to deal with. And then engineering students, they have very different way of expressing themselves. They use numbers, figure without any explanation. So it's a bit hard for us to introduce how to explain, even though concise, but clear enough for engineering student. And also, there is no writing skill prediction at the beginning. So all new students usually go through the English prediction test, but not for writing. That's why we don't have any clue at the beginning about the writing skill that they have. So I also would like to highlight several things when we try to promote this program among our lecturer here. Some of them say, oh, we are going to be assisted by English people. I don't think that English person or English people can support us because we come from different fields. I'm mechanical engineering, I'm instrumentation engineering. How come they know what we need? So kind of distrust between STEM people and English people. And English tutor that we train here also not confident. They say, I'm from English background, how can I support people from civil engineering or naval architecture that I have no idea about? So again, that's a very challenging situation for us. That's why the number of one-on-one consultation, for example, is need to be encouraged more because this trust situation happened. And instant result that mentioned by Dr. Harni seriously become our problem. So they think, okay, this is my manuscript, this is my draft, do it for me, and I will pay, something like that. So not really sincere interest to improve the writing skill. And I believe, I don't know in Japan, but in Indonesia, writing is not our habit. Our country, our people here prefer to oral communication instead of writing. So bringing our students to the writing habit is really challenging. I guess I have to pause up to here to give opportunity for others to discuss and ask questions. Thank you, Fai.
Thank you, Dr. Maria, for sharing from Institute Teknologi 10 November Writing Centers. And again, the informations from our speaker, this is really valid that from Indonesian's perspective, we still have a lot of homeworks to do within the ITS itself and also Universitas Indonesia, as well as the other university in here. And for all participants, I would like to again remind you, if you have any questions while we have the informations from the speakers, please feel free to raise your hands or put your questions on the chat box. And while we are waiting for participants' questions, I will get back to Dr. Tinja on, again, echoing Dr. Maria's informations about the interest. What do you think in Japan or a Japanese student's perspective, Dr. Tinja, in Hiroshima, will that you having the interest is very good at your university, and how is about the culture, writing culture in Japan?
Well, I will say it's very polarized. It really depends on the need, practical need. Do they need to write English essays or thesis for graduation? And also it depends on their oral English proficiency. Are they feel comfortable to communicate with an English-speaking faculty or tutor to discuss their written English? So sometimes you will see the gap that students writing is okay, there's a space to work on, but when you communicate with the students, it's a bit challenging to really clarify these writing topics. So yeah, that's why we have bilingual tutors and faculties So we give students options to, students can discuss their English writing in Japanese. And I also allow students to use Japanese to discuss their writing in group discussions. Yes, and I think for the interest, international students on campus usually are very engaged in these courses, and they also see the point of develop English literacies. For Japanese students, I think their teachers, their supervisors usually point them to our writing center courses and saying, you know, these are important. So that's what I'm saying. There's a gap at the university level. From faculty's perspective, everyone agree that it's important to develop English literacies, but students, especially undergraduates, if they don't need a postgraduate degree, they really need to see the point to develop academic writing skills in their undergraduate degree. So so just encourage students to your class or to your consultations, let them know that they can write down their reasoning in their essay as a beginning, because I always have first year students and then they say, Sensei, teacher, I haven't done any research. What am I going to write for the final essay? Okay, then you ask them, why did you choose this major? Why you're interested? What do you want to study in this major, right? And then they will think about, oh, because I feel climate change is a very important issue. I think we should study climate change in relation to ecological citizenship. Okay, then write down this reasoning as a start of an essay and as the start of academic writing. So I will say, identify the needs and their interest and work our services into their interest.
Okay, so we can see here that from Hiroshima University, you provide the options whether the students can go with Japanese language or English language. How is it in University of Indonesia, Ibu Harni? Do you also provide bilingual options for the students or clients at the centers?
The moment we focus on English academic articles or thesis and dissertation or research proposals, but when we do our consultation, we do bilingual. Sometimes it's more L1, more Indonesian, but basically whatever helps our clients to craft their writing, to shape their writing, we do that. But the other thing I think that is important is that our center try to establish a dialogue between experts in different fields. So in the beginning of our establishment, we did a little bit of a workshop that is particularly targeted for a specific discipline. So we have 4 for social sciences, for humanities, hard sciences, for math and engineering, and also for faculty of medicine. And I think it was quite productive because we've been preparing our method for the teaching and for the language specifically for the content we are targeting. And I think I quite enjoy that. And I understand in the beginning, some tutors in our center were a bit of, in a vulnerable side of dealing with STEM discourse. But I actually enjoy reading science and engineering discourse because one of my PhDs doing something with science. So I could do a little bit of understanding in that and trying to incorporate that with our center. And we have quite a lot of clients from Faculty of Medicine, Faculty of Dentistry, a few from Engineering and Science. So I think so far I could say it was quite productive, in a way. Yeah, and I would like to share how we deal with that maybe in some other occasion. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Harni, for adding to that information. Dr. Maria, do you have any additional points or questions?
Actually, the question to Dr. Harni. I just wonder, when you have workshop for science, workshop for hard engineering, workshop for soft engineering, did you invite professor or lecturer from that science to talk about English, or do you have English people talk about STEM? Because we really need to learn the strategy. And also with Dr. Tinja as well, I saw in your presentation you put science, something like that. Is it English people talking about science or science people talking about English? Thank you.
I could share my slide, I think, what we did in the beginning of our establishment, if I may. Okay, so here in our in the slide in your screen. So we have these four, basically four disciplines: humanities, social sciences, and of course, clients come most of the time coming from humanities and social sciences because they know they are responsible in creating languages and they want to make good sentences, something that appeals to the publication. But if you could see here, we do health and medical and natural engineering sciences. We do a lot of collaborative work. We use some sort of language pedagogy in which it could bridge the content and language at the same time. So we try to focus on one text, for example, here. So we use texts that are directly coming from their field. So this is an example of two texts from the, sorry, so a bit of technical issues, from the natural and engineering sciences. So my friend there, Ms. Dita, suggested these two articles that we're going to use, and we asked our participants to take their own articles to deal with. And then we try to model how do we actually read these texts, what kind of language that are used in these articles. And then we go on hand-on application, how can they read it, access it, and borrow the sort of grammatical and discourse style in order to be part of their writing. So I think what Dr. Dorothy has modeled in the beginning, we try to make it deeper in terms of language. And I do a lot of discussion. We did a lot of discussion with these experts in the field. So what do you mean by this? And then we try to interpret that based on the language. So what we try to do is to make explicit the part of language in which it has the content or key content that has to be part. If it is the introduction, it has to be some sort of big picture, but what is the realization of that pictures in terms of language? So I think there should be a productive discussion between somebody who's doing language as well as the experts. So, and especially using the model articles that are used, that has to be used, and that's something that really is related with the clients. So clients can feel like home because, oh yeah, I read this kind of articles, I deal with this kind of sentences. I myself don't know what does it mean by biological pump. So I have to ask my friend, the expert in this workshop, so what do you mean by this? And then what I would interpret is that where do you put this and why this article used this in the beginning of the article.
On what?
Yeah, a glimpse of what we do, what we have done in our center.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Harni, for sharing. So basically, each faculty are in your hands. Like you have specific experts delivering the information. How is in the Hiroshima University, Dr. Tinja?
Well, I think usually as a tutor or faculty teaching academic writing, you will have some disciplinary knowledge in your own field, right? STEM or medicine or education. And you definitely have your own academic writing experiences, publication experiences. Okay, then to be an instructor, a facilitator, a supporter or a teacher, you need pedagogical knowledge. You need to know how to use pedagogical practices, skills, approaches, language to transfer your disciplinary knowledge in your consultations or classes, writing groups, right? These are two types of knowledge. This content knowledge, disciplinary knowledge, plus pedagogy knowledge, right? So both. Usually when we hire tutors or faculties, they have disciplinary knowledge, but then we also want to offer them this education training courses or these meetings to advise their tutorial services, their consultation services, how they talk to students and clients to cultivate the pedagogy knowledge on the other hand. Then when they know their discipline, they know academic writing in their discipline, and they also know how to teach academic writing with their backgrounds.
Okay. How about in ITS, Ibu Maria? We hear already from Hiroshima that they have the particular expert than having the education pedagogy training for them, and as well as for the University of Indonesia. How about in ITS, Ibu Maria?
At the moment, we are still in the very beginning stage. So we still don't have any structure strategy for it. When we establish our academic writing center, we recruit tutor with English background, but then we figured out that actually the distrust between STEM people and English people there, and we have to tackle that. And I just have one follow-up question, one quick one, because I believe I will invite participants also to ask. Dr. Ting Jia Wang, I just wondered one thing. When you talk about recruiting people with specific background and so on and so forth, that means if you have, let's say, 5 or 10 fields in Hiroshima, that means you have 10 tutors with particular background in the center. Is that right?
Not necessarily. We don't have that big pool to choose tutor, and we prioritize their academic writing skills over their disciplinary knowledge and background. And and we actually ask the question that, for example, you're from STEM background. What if you have a client from arts and humanity background ask you to advise on her writing, right? What is your strategy? How to prepare that? We ask this question in the interview, almost to all tutors, and there are good answers. Like, and our expected answers are, there are some general principles that applicable across disciplines. So I will do this and that in my preparation, and if that answer satisfied us, that tutor will be hired. So we know that that student tutor has a vision as a teacher and as a facilitator. And
okay, thank you.
So basically we teach and support beyond our disciplinary boundaries.
Yes, thank you. One more thing maybe, Vice, that I should put on the table for discussion. There is also lack of feedback in Indonesian institution. I don't know whether Dr. Harni can agree with me on this, but because we have to deal with many students, the student body is so big. So lack of feedback also causing very challenging writing enhancement among our students here in Indonesia. I just put it on the table. Maybe the participant can comment on that. Thank you, Vice.
Thank you, Dr. Maria. Before we go for the discussions about the feedback, I believe that's also mentioned by Dr. Dorothy in the presentations previously. Again, I would like to invite all of the participants, if you have any questions or opinion on what Ibu Maria mentions, please feel free to unmute yourself and then delivering the informations or the questions. Do I have questions here? Let me see. Okay. At the moment, we don't have any questions yet, so we can go for the next topic that Ibu Maria brings about feedback. How the writing centers or probably faculty members at within the university in Hiroshima and Universitas Indonesia, do the students also receiving relevant or frequent feedback from their works, Dr. Tingja and Ibu Harni?
You mean the feedback of their tutorial services, for example, consultation services?
Yes, you can mention within the centers or university, generally within the university.
Okay, I see. Can I quickly share screen, maybe just 2 minutes to finish that tutor training system, because that's exactly what you're asking for. So the next thing I want to share about is our tutor training program, which just launched recently. So that's relevant to our student tutorial services, and you can say it's bilingual again. The one-on-one tutor training tutorial service is provided by postgraduate students to undergraduates and postgraduates. And our clients are not supposed to choose the tutor, but they can choose the time, because we don't want to, ask our student tutors to fix their time. They have their PhD program to finish. That means we need to maintain the quality of tutorial services, whichever tutor our clients will meet. So in February 2021, we got this certification. The logic of the certification is that the CRLA give Writing Center a certification. Writing Center therefore is qualified to issue its own certification to tutors. So the benefit is that for tutors, they have asset on their resume. For Writing Center, we are structure our training program under CRLA requirement and frameworks. And for clients, they will receive quality, trained, and stable English academic support, no matter which tutor they got. Right, so this is our tutor training program. We have peer training systems provided by senior tutors to junior tutors. So that's one source of the feedback from tutors giving feedback to each other, right? They observe senior tutors' real tutorial and they give feedback. They also have courses provided by faculties. That's what I mentioned. They have writing course about academic writing. They also have a teaching course, education course about how to teach academic writing in their discipline. They have assessment, self-assessment at the year end. They have faculty's assessment. This year, we started the weekly tutor meeting every Thursday on the English side, and also every Wednesday on the Japanese side. So tutors facilitate it. They give opinions on each other, and then faculties observe and advise, and then fellows and administrative officers advise. So my observations about tutors' feedbacks about this training program is that they are eager to learn pedagogy skills. They want to know how to talk to clients. They want to know how to structure their tutorial services, how to prepare their tutorial services. And their leadership is largely developed in this facilitation and peer training. And they want faculty's modeling, not just advice, but really model. If I were you, I will say this exact words to clients. Why, right? So they want to faculties to model how to think like a teacher. These are PhDs and master students interested in teaching in the future. And with this tutor training program, we actually be able to maintain the quality of tutorial services, and tutors have opportunities to be trained as a more mindful academics with awareness of their language choices and tutorial services and approaches. I would like to mention that we need to pay attention to the sustainability. Masters and PhDs have a different years ahead to work with us. So make sure that junior tutors all have equal balanced opportunities to grow up as senior tutors. Even you have some very capable students, but make sure that you carry the entire tutor team in this training program to make sure everyone can grow. So you always have a good senior to provide a peer training support. Yeah, so that's the sharing. I hope that answers your question. So I think that's the last slide I prepared. So I will end the talk before I give the floor to everyone else. So we are surely very interested as a center and for all the international collaborations. So I'm representing the English stream on all level international collaborations with me individually or with the Writing Center or with our other faculties and members. You're welcome to contact me at this email address. I'm very happy to connect you with my colleagues and the entire Writing Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tinja, for sharing about your tutor training informations and how they probably giving the feedbacks on that clients as well. How about in the University of Indonesia, Ibu Harni, that first is about the feedback that Ibu Maria mentioned, and then second, maybe you also can share about the tutor training from your side.
Okay, so feedback, well, in our center, one of our services is to give feedback either verbally or in written form. So of course, it's this part of our services. We were giving our clients feedback, but I think if our clients process the feedback and revise it according to the consultation, that would be beyond our center. But what we could do is we try to emphasize to our tutors. So whoever clients coming, make sure that they get that the takeaway, something that it's gained from the consultation is clear. So it should be established in the first meeting. What do they want to get, and make sure they could achieve it through the consultation process. And it goes through our training. So in the beginning, we had quite a long training program for our tutors. You know, this is to do with how I emphasize that this is introducing a new culture. This is not just a new culture for the clients, but also tutors. Tutors would look like a teacher, but they're not really teacher. They're not really coach. They're tutoring. and the session could be short, and it's not something that can be taken in classes. Maybe we have a different programs like the one Dr. Tinja Wang have in Hiroshima University. We don't have courses. What we do have is workshop in series, but it's not classes because there is no credit or something equal. And that's what we have to train our tutors well. We are a small team. We have 3 tutors, and then the other 3 are the core team. And along with the training program, we also have monthly professional development. They have to reflect and review what's going on, and we have to give them like new knowledge, either curriculum knowledge or pedagogical knowledge, and we reflect on experience. So it's really the continuity and the habit that we are trying to build, because essentially we cannot recruit more tutors. We just maintain what we have, and we try to put more knowledge, either it's more discourse knowledge on different kinds of fields, different kinds of articles, and also the way we talk, the kind of questions we can ask to our clients so that they could, elaborate more and get better ideas about their own writing. So I think if there is some sort of takeaway, it would be a good training program and professional development on a regular basis. Then, hopefully it could help.
Thank you, Ibu Harni, for sharing, and as well, Dr. Tinja from Hiroshima. Ibu Maria, do you have any additional, particularly on the tutor trainings from ITS perspective?
Okay, I have to acknowledge again that I'm really newbie in this area. We have done tutor training with what I mentioned before, inviting English people with English background, and then train them how to do tutoring in academic writing center with Red School at that time. And then we learn from the practices we have that we still need to have more robust program, tutor training program, and also feedback. And I would like to learn very hard to get insight from other senior and implement and try in our academic writing center. Thank you, Fai.
Thank you, Ibu Maria. And I think the time is reaching the end of our sessions. But before we close the sessions today, I would like to appreciate Dr. Tinja from Hiroshima, Dr. Harni from University of Indonesia, and Dr. Maria for sharing a lot about the writing centers from different perspectives. I know that we have the centers that already established, and then some is still developing and struggling. Hopefully, by learning from each other, we can get a lot of takeaways, and then for all representative from each university that also attending the Zoom meeting today, I hope you can learn more about the establishments of writing centers and start to getting and following our steps, like to improve and encourage the writing community in your university. With one of the thing is establishing the writing center itself. Again, thank you so very much for all speakers here, and then I would like to give back the microphones to Hannah to continue the sessions.
All right, thank you very much to Ms. Fai for moderating the event, and also not forgetting to say very much thank you to 3 of our amazing speakers for the incredible sharing session. Throughout this talk show, I believe that from here we're able to understand the differences and the similarities of each writing centers that we have all around the world. It is also very nice to know that unfortunately all of us have the same goal, which is to help all of the people that is in the world to improve their academic writing in English. Now, to our incredible speakers, as a sign of our big appreciation for today, we would like to present to you, like always, a certificate of appreciation. Just like before, let us take a picture with the certificate first, and then let's have another group photo together in the end. First of all, allow me to present the certificate of appreciation to Dr. Tinja Wang from Hiroshima University. Now, everyone, please have a nice smile, especially for Dr. Wang. Please show me your biggest smile, and I will help with the counting. Please smile in 3, 2, 1, cheese. Okay, thank you very much for Dr. Wang. Now let's continue to present the Certificate of Appreciation to Dr. Harni Kartika Ningsi from University of Indonesia. I will then again help with the counting. To Dr. Ningsi, please show me your incredible smile in 3, 2, 1, cheese. All right, thank you very much to Dr. Ningsi for the amazing smile. And finally, let us present the Certificate of Appreciation to Associate Professor Maria Aditya Sari from ITS. I would like to help again with the counting. To our Associate Professor Aditya Sari, please show me your warmest smile. In 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, wonderful. Everyone, now, lastly, let us now continue with the group photo. Therefore, please turn on your camera and prepare your greatest pose. Right now, since it is our final photo session before our break, I would like to hoping that everyone here could have more time to turn on their cameras. Since I think previously we just went on with the photo session. So maybe everyone could please turn on their camera first and let's have a final group photo together. All right, I see that some of you are already turned on their camera, and therefore for the comedy, let's then again have another final group photo, taking a picture in 3, 2, 1, cheese. All right, it's so nice to see all of these wonderful smiles. Now, everyone, like we know, we already finished the first half of our event. Maybe a big round of applause for everyone here for attending very nicely to this incredible event. Now, we already started with incredible opening remarks. We continue with a very insightful lecture. And not to mention, we just finished a wonderful talk show with 3 writing centers. Now, there's a chance that all of you must be very hungry right now, wherever you are, or maybe in need of a coffee break. Therefore, let us then have a break to refresh our minds and fill in our tummies, shall we? But since it will be a long break, allow me to kindly remind everyone that we will provide 2 rooms later on for our workshop session. So the first room will be for lecturers and staff that will be discussing regarding the AVC establishment, while the second room will be for students that will be discussing about publication and writings. Hope you all could differentiate between these 2 rooms and don't get lost later on in the end. But if you do not worry. You could just come back to the main room and tell our committee to help you be assigned. Now, everyone, as you know, it will be an amazing workshop. So please do not forget to come back to the Zoom meeting at 13:00 West Indonesian time to continue with the workshop session. If you want to turn off your camera and just leave on the Zoom openly as you want, that's totally fine. But if you want to get out of the Zoom and then come back again at 13:00 West Indonesian time, it's totally fine also. Well then, hope you all have a great break, and I'll see you again at 1 p.m. West Indonesian time. See you, everyone. Have a great break. We'll see you again later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.